A new Park Wars episode.
Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Today I'm bringing you yet another Park Wars episode, since these seem to be doing really well, so it means lots of people like them. So I thought to myself, why not do another one? And if I haven't said it enough, I went to these two parks last summer, so I thought for this one I'll just compare the two and see which of the two, what you would probably say major German theme parks, which is better. So if you haven't seen any of my Park Wars episodes before, I highly suggest you do go check them out. And when you have, come back here and you'll know the format. But if you don't want to do that, I'll explain the format for you now. So essentially, unlike most others, where it's kind of like ride versus ride in their individual categories, in this one, as it says at the side, both parks' coasters are put into one list and given points based on their position. So as it says there, first gets 20 points, second gets 19 points, third gets 18 points, and it goes on throughout the whole list. So at number 20 we have the Bar Express at the island area in Europa Park. Swiss Bob Run, or as I like to call it, Scheisse Babahn. 18, Temple of the Nighthawk. It's just boring, really. Nothing happens. It's pitch black in there, so you can't see what's going on. Number 17 is the Alpine Express. It doesn't really offer much in terms of an experience, but it's still decent going through them caves. Number 16, Matterhorn Blitz. It's once again alright. It's got a decent first drop, but after that it's pretty rubbish. 17 is Rake, another kind of family coaster. It's probably better than Ben 10, I'd say, but it's still, Accelerator, but it is still, I'd say, an average coaster. 14, Pegasus, the Mack Youngstar coaster. Pretty decent, good ride experience, although operations suffered heavily, and that was the same with Alpine Express because of the VR. 13, Colorado Adventure, definitely one of the more superior mine ride coasters I myself have personally done. 12, Poseidon, I found it quite rough. 11, Super Splash, I have bunched the two water coasters together from Europa Park. I don't think there's much in it really, but I just think Super Splash is a bit more of a better splashdown moment, so I've said Super Splash there. 10 is Windjazz Force and 9 is Windjazz Fear, and the Windjazz coaster is very similar, but I do think the dark section of the ride is better on Fear, I think. 8 is Arthur, really good theming on that coaster. Yeah, really good fun that. It's got a good soundtrack to it, onboard soundtrack that is, and the outdoor section at the end's pretty fun too. 7, Eurosat, it's got a really nice soundtrack, but because it's pitch black you can't really see what's going on, and it suffers from Temple of the Nighthawk effect, what I'll call it, although it's still, obviously, with it being place 7, a much better coaster than Nighthawk, and it gets a lot of force for a family coaster towards the end of it when you get near the bottom of the big dome. Number 6 is Euroman, narrowly beating it out. I do think I'm definitely, as you can see there, a Meerman. I just think it's a better coaster in terms of a coaster. It's fun, it's enjoyable. The spinny bit at the top, I think that kind of detracts from the overall experience, but once you get into the coaster part itself, it does get pretty forceful towards the end. Number 5, Black Mamba, a pretty average B&M invert, nowhere near the level of Nemesis. It's a bit rough towards the end, I'll stick my neck out and say it, but it's got a decent helix, and I heard somewhere apparently it's like the tightest helix on an invert. 4 is Voden, decent coaster, although I don't rate it the highest of the big 3 at EP. Number 3, Silver Star. I found it smooth, I found it enjoyable, I found it quite airtime heavy, it was pretty good in that respect. The ending to it's a bit weak, but it's still a pretty decent coaster. Number 2 is Blue Fire. Really good, once again. For a time, I called it my number 1, but I have reevaluated that now, and I do think that number 1 of this list is my number 1 coaster. But yeah, Blue Fire, really, really good coaster. And then number 1, obviously, Taron. Just all round brilliant, 2 cracking launches, forceful, it's got the duration, it's got the airtime moments, it's got the intensity. It is one of the best coasters I think ever created. So then, after that round, looking at the scores, Phantasialand are on 76, but Europa Park are steaming ahead on 134. Flat rides then works just the same as the coaster category, but the points have obviously changed because there's not 20 flat rides. So, number 5 is the Vienna Wave Swing at EP, and just to kind of bulk out this category a bit, I have put the 2 chair swings in, but yeah, it was pretty weak. It wasn't the greatest, but it was alright. It had cool fountains, but the fountains definitely did not beat out I'll call it Wellenflug or Wellenflug, I don't know. This was definitely superior in terms of the chair swings, just because of the whole water thing going on there. Number 3 is Windjammer. It's named after a Viking ship, and that's at the bottom there. That is just your generic pirate ship kind of thing. Number 2 is Talakan. Lots of people would say this is the best flat ride in the park, but personally I had a really poor experience on it. Essentially, I had a proper Norbert operator on it who, after going round 4 times, you would think would realise I am trying to sit on the front, and yet every single time I had to experience it on the back. I was pretty peeved off after that, so it has affected my opinion of the ride. And then number 1, Mystery Castle, all round good fun, just drop tower, and yeah, I do really like it. After the flat rides round then, Fantasia have clawed a few points back on 87 in comparison to 183. Water Rides then works just the same as the last 2 rounds. However, Super Splash and Poseidon have already scored points for Europa Park in the coaster round, and so aren't going to be counted in this round. So at number 4, it is the Tiroler Log Flume at Europa Park. It's alright, it's not the greatest log flume. Number 3 is Fjord Rafting. Once again, decent fun, but a pretty weak rapids. Number 2, River Quest. I would hands down say the best rapid ride I have ever been on. Incredible. The drops are really good fun. It's just a really good rapids ride. But number 1 is going to be Chapass. Very easy to take this one. It's got a cracking soundtrack. That final drop's incredible, and the theming throughout is second to none. Scores after that round then, 94 for Phantasialand and 141 for Europa Park. So Europa Park still very much firmly in the lead there. So the next one is the kids rides and the dark rides category. The park gets 1 point for every ride counted under its family and dark ride section on their respective websites, and that is not counting walk-through attractions. Phantasialand scoring a pretty decent 16 points, but I think you can see it coming. Europa Park running away with that round with a whopping 30 points. So then the scores after that round are 110 to Phantasialand, but after storming at almost double Phantasialand's rides in that round, it is Europa Park with 171 points, already beaten the highest scored park we've ever had on this series. Theming then, it's pretty self-explanatory this one, but each park's theming is rated out of 10. So Phantasialand scoring 7 because they have got some incredible theming throughout the park. However, it has not scored higher than 7 due to some of the areas such as the kind of back end of the park where there is Temple of the Nighthawk and Hollywood Tour, because although that is the older area of the park, it's just a bit crap really, the theming around there. Europa scores 9 points there just because they are incredibly consistent throughout the entirety of the park in terms of their quality of just theming throughout. There isn't a single area, I think, in the park that I could really pick them up on for a lack of immersive theming. So the scores at the end of that round are 117 to Phantasialand, but Europa Park still ahead massively on 180. Operations then, and it's the same as the last round. Operations are scored out of 10 for each park. Fantasia was scoring 6 points because there was a few dodgy operations in my personal visit, but Fantasia scoring 6 points because there was a few miscommunications in some stations, especially in the Terran station when I was there, and a few rides had unnecessarily large queues. But Europa Park once again taking this round by storm with 9 points. Incredible operations there. Easily the best operations I've ever seen. And queues that at any other park, for example, say Blue Fire, would be an hour and a half. Here they were half an hour, 20 minutes. It was just absolutely incredible stuff. So the scores at the end of this round are 123 to Phantasialand, but obviously still ahead is Europa Park with 189. Prices then are based off the website's price for one adult, and that is excluding the online saver. I am stressing this now because it confused a few people last time. This is on the website, but not including the online saver, and only one park can win this one, winning 5 points. So Phantasialand does actually win it by 50 cents. It is €46.50 to €47 for a one-day ticket to these parks. So the scores at the end of this round are 128 to, once again, Europa Park on 189. Not moved after that one, obviously, because they didn't take the points. And then the final round of the episode is atmosphere. But yeah, out of 10, the atmosphere, kind of like things like staff friendliness, the cleanliness, and the overall feel of the park. So Fantasia scored 7 points because some of their staff were nice, really helpful, and that. It was nice and clean, the whole park, and everyone was just having good fun. There was a decent atmosphere. However, it hasn't scored higher than 7 because, as I mentioned before, some of the staff, the one working on Talocan, weren't the nicest. And then Europa Park are going to score 9 points for that round. Just, once again, just incredible for Europa. It really is just a great atmosphere. We had a tad bit of a drama of some member of the group who managed to leave an iPad on top of the Strasbourg Cathedral. Good one, Dad. So, I mean, I didn't mention who it was. So, we were trying to get some kind of insight into what had happened with it. So, we went to the customer service desk at Europa, and they were incredibly helpful there. Big thumbs up to the guys working on that desk there. The majority of the staff there speak two or three languages. English, German, most of them spoke French as well, so that's really good and helpful. The whole place was incredibly clean, well staffed, and the staff were, as I said, incredibly friendly. And so, at the end of the video, Phantasialand score 135 points, but Europa Park take it by storm, 2 off 200 points. The highest score I've ever had in a Park Wars episode is Europa Park with 198 points, so very, very easily Europa Park wins. Well then guys, tell me your opinions in the comments. Who do you think should have won? Thanks for watching, leave a like on the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more Park Wars episodes in the future. Until next time guys, thanks for watching and goodbye.